Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of The Discourse. My name is Brendan Lotz, and today myself and Robin Lee Chessie sat down to speak with Uber South Africa General Manager Kagiso Khaole. We chatted about a range of topics, including driver classifications, rider safety, electric vehicles, modalities, and a whole bunch more. It's a really informative conversation, and we highly recommend you sit down and give it a listen. It gives you some valuable insight into how Uber South Africa operates and what its aspirations for South Africa are. Thanks so much to Uber South Africa for setting this up, and we hope you enjoy the conversation.
Hi, I'm Kagiso Khaole. I'm the General Manager for Uber in Sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay, so let's start off. How are things going with Uber in South Africa? Obviously, you have Uber Eats, you have Uber Connect, I believe, which is the package delivering service. How are things going with the business locally?
Yeah, the platform is expanding. You know, we always talk about the power of the platform. I think as a business, we are a company that's kind of uniquely positioned. You know, we're operating in multiple domains. So on grocery and food delivery, we've got our Uber Eats business, on-demand delivery, which is a really exciting space for us. We've got our Uber package, formerly known as Uber Connect. And on the rides business, mobility has really been interesting. I think we've had an industry that's been quite resilient across the continent, particularly in South Africa as well. I think as we are now COVID is, really far behind us. We've managed to, continue to grow the business, improve, earnings for drivers, improve different modalities for riders as well. So it's been a really exciting growth period for us. And more importantly, I think access to the service across more places. I think Uber used to be a product, that was available just in the sort of core cities. We're starting to expand, really good growth, I think, around the coastal areas as well, expanding north into Limpopo, northwest. So it's really exciting to see the adoption of this modality as an everyday use case for people.
So I got a notification on my way here. I actually took an Uber here. That it reminded me that I took my first ride in 2016. But you guys have been around here for now 10 years, or going on 10 years. So what are some of the kind of landmark events that have defined this decade that you guys have been here in South Africa?
Firstly, good thing you have your notifications on. That's the best way to, get the most out of the platform. Yeah, it's been, we're in our 11th year in South Africa. We're just reflecting, South Africa is one of the first markets, for Uber. In our early days, I think it was one of the first markets to move up to 3 cities, actually, funny enough. So, it's been quite a journey. I think where we had started, again, the use case itself, the product itself was something that we weren't sure of, how is it going to land in a country like South Africa. But I think, being really focused and orientated around sort of the needs of drivers, the needs of riders has really helped us, sustain this business, which has actually become a more important thing, especially, in the context of, how we see technology and businesses these days. 10 years is the life cycle of companies. You have rapid rises and rapid falls, but I think being focused on, again, the user experience, focused on building a really solid platform is what has allowed us to continue operating and to continue to expand the space. When we started, the industry itself was a few thousand cars. And now, I think total industry, you're looking at probably around close to 50,000.
Is that South Africa?
Just in South Africa, which is insane. I mean, and that's probably, a low base estimate. So again, the modality is making sense. You think about the context of South Africa, where people are trying to get from point to point. We have a lot of sort of fixed route transportation. It's been really important and really life-changing for, platform like Uber to be able to help you to get from your home to your work, door to door.
I know that the ride aspect of the business is very important to you, but I just wanted to get a bit more insight around the Uber Eats delivery platform. During the pandemic, it obviously, I don't want to say it did well for you, but there was a great opportunity that you were able to leverage and really kind of grow a lot of momentum in that space. So how is Uber Eats kind of performing? Do you see that as not necessarily the core of your business, but one that will really excel in South Africa?
Yeah, there's nothing like an idea whose time has come, and I think COVID was that period that accelerated adoption of this product. Again, we're seeing phenomenal growth from an Eats perspective. We've gone from just providing fast food, we're moving into what we call new verticals. So grocery and retail is a big focus for us. I think if you open your app now, you can get almost anything. We've also opened up dark kitchens. So for the listeners, dark kitchens is retail outlets that don't have any, you can't actually go visit. It's actually just made for the producing of the food, and then they rely on platforms like Uber Eats to be able to deliver. So we've seen a lot of that growth, but also what's been exciting is, again, the expansion story. We've got merchants now that are operating from townships, servicing suburbs. You think about, again, the structure of South Africa. You typically have a main city or suburban area and a township very close by. So now those merchants are able to access customers that they couldn't before. And what we did last year was put together a program. We're investing around 200 million rands to be able to grow merchants and grow couriers in townships to be able to deliver. So that program is going really well. We had partnered with the Department of Economic Development to be able to train South Africans to ride bikes. I don't know how many bikers listen to this podcast, but it's not, two-wheelers not necessarily something that we have in our culture. But what we found and what's been interesting is, as soon as somebody gets onto the motorbike and realizes, okay, this is actually doable, right? All sorts of bias falls away. And one really nice story was there was a young lady. She was part of that program. She got trained up last year. And she's already miles ahead. She's like, no, I want to move into training of couriers, because now she's managed to be able to develop a source of income to support her family. And now she's seeing that actually some of these, biases that a lot of South Africans have around different modes of transportation are actually unfounded. And she's actually trying to get more people to be able to get their driver's licenses for the bikes as well. So that's been an encouraging story. Hopefully we'll meet our goal of getting 2,000 new merchants, new couriers up and running as well. Yeah.
Does that mean that Uber's perhaps focusing a bit more on the last mile?
So last mile is fundamentally, a big part of what you do. That's the core of the Eats business. Typically the radius that couriers are operating is fairly ring-fenced. The last mile space, and in generally the space that we operate in are very hard to scale. So you always have this dual tension of, you need supply, so vehicles and drivers, and at the same time you need demand to be able to service those drivers. And our skill sets in terms of being market makers, marketplace creators, is that we've been able to scale out these types of products very well. So from an Uber Eats perspective, again, yes, we've got sort of anchor tenants, you could put it that way, anchor clients, big national chains, but we've been able to start pulling in, moms and pop stores, individuals, and then also now when you marry that with what we've done with Uber Package, which is on-demand delivery, we now have a nice recipe where we can actually be able to sustain the earnings of a courier just on our platform by giving them multiple modes of earning as well. So I think last mile has been a bit of a sweet spot and something that is still fairly nascent. I think we can still continue to grow in this space. I think there's interesting forward opportunities in Uber Direct. So Uber Direct is a product that we have. So some of the apps that you use, they're actually fulfilled by Uber Supply. So it's almost the back end for these companies.
I actually wanted to ask if you guys white label your services to other companies that are looking to get into the delivery space. It was very interesting that you guys do that.
Yeah,
it makes sense. It makes sense from a business standpoint.
Yeah, one of our, I think it's best kept secrets. I think it's something that it's a great service. I always say there's no point in rebuilding what's already there. And, I do look at, platform going forward. We are a platform. As much as you know us for having sort of very big client-facing brands, I think with the tools that we have, whether it's Uber for Business, Uber Direct, are really great in terms of expanding, and even in transport. I do see a world where different modalities comes onto our platform and utilizes the tech access to market to be able to strengthen their proposition going forward.
Yeah, I think that also makes sense in the longer term because it works. Uber works. I use it regularly. Uber Eats works. I use it regularly. But I think at some point you need to investigate these other options, right? You need to look at how can we tap into that business market, which is where a lot of big brands such as Uber kind of play in not exclusively, but for the majority of the work. I'm talking like your Microsofts, Apples, like a lot of these companies are dealing in a business-to-business space. So it's interesting to hear that is where you guys are looking at playing into as well.
So the business, another piece of it is also like staff transportation. There was a time I looked after, the call center operations of one of the big insurers in South Africa. And some of the challenges we had is some days you didn't know if staff was going to make it to the office. And with platforms like Uber for Business, you're able to control staff travel. You're able to actually add it as a benefit for your staff, and part of that is ensuring that reliability, because if one driver doesn't come, the app automatically dispatches another person. So there's a lot of benefits for businesses, and I'm really bullish about what Uber for Business can do across the continent.
I'm assuming that also potentially works into a hybrid working model. We're here at your offices. It seems like hot desking is the go-to here. So I'm assuming something like Uber for Business would work into that as well.
100%. A lot of you go around Sandton, you go around most of the former business districts. Companies are implementing hybrid working methodology. So, you ask the question: is it worth it for me to go and purchase a vehicle if I'm only going to be traveling a few kilometers every single month? So that's where having that employer benefit of transportation. I think it's something that is attractive, particularly for Gen Zs, new entrants into the working space, but also talks to the hybrid nature of work. And the other piece also is actually on food programs as well. One of the things we have in our office, we don't have a cafeteria. Everyone gets Uber Eats, and you can order, and it really is fantastic because you no longer have the debates of what's on the menu, do I like it or not. It's you just jump in and order what you need, and that's been really transformative for businesses as well.
Great stuff.
Cool. So let's move on to the nature of gig work. So over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of controversy around gig workers, especially in South Africa. Uber itself scored quite poorly in Fair Work's rankings. So how are you guys addressing gig work and the problems that exist therein, and some of the grievances of those that are working in the gig economy? How are you guys addressing some of those grievances that people have?
To start, our philosophy and our belief is that we believe in earners being able to earn flexibly. One of the top things that come out, talking to drivers, we talk to, hundreds to thousands every single month. The drivers will tell you about what they were doing beforehand. So I had this job. It was in a factory. It was industrial. I was a security guard. I was this and that. And I couldn't do this, that, or the other. When I talk to women drivers, I couldn't go pick up my kids. I couldn't, still be a homemaker. But now I have this opportunity where I'm able to still earn, but also be able to, shape my life and determine the way my life is going to be. And that's been a big part of it. And this space of, gig work has always been, something that is new. I think this is something that has been evolving over time, but the understanding has really improved. And what we've seen with just generally surveying our courier base, our driver base, is that this is something that they value, the ability to be able to determine their own fate. We don't have any plans to, partner with Fair Work. I think that's why also, again, the scores are what they are. We believe that, again, some things in their methodologies just need to be looked at, but we still remain very close to our driver base, whether it's around sustainability of earnings. I think we spoke right in the beginning. If we're in a marketplace to attract earners, so couriers and drivers. If we do not put together a sustainable, exciting proposition, we will not have a business. So actually, earners and drivers are lifeblood of what we do. So some of the things that we've been looking into, whether it's around safety, whether it's around different options and access to vehicles, access to opportunities. This has been a primary focus of ours, so that's not going to stop. We're going to continue to make sure we're the best platform for earners, whether it's on the EAT space or general mobility as well going forward.
So I just wanted to touch on the vehicle thing. I know many years ago you guys helped driver partners finance vehicles or kind of make the introduction to vehicle finances. Do you guys still do that?
So our models have evolved. I think part of the exciting piece of the business right now is that, again, going back to the flexibility, you can come in as an individual, bring in your own car. If you are somebody who has a spare car that, you'd like to earn money from, you can still do that. But what's emerged also is different modes of companies working to provide access. So we know it's getting harder and harder to get credit. A lot of people get excluded from the financial systems very early in their lives as well. So we've had to work and develop, fleet partners who are able to provide the access. So I think one of the big stories for us was a company called Move.io, and they started on African soil, and they've now grown into, fingers crossed they'll be a unicorn soon. So they've provided so much access to vehicles, and these are brand new cars. I don't know if you've seen some of them. These i10s. They've got Apple CarPlay. They've got Android Auto. It's very beautiful cars, and but partnering with them is that we're solving issues around vehicle supply and access, but we're also solving pieces around also the total cost of operating. Because bigger companies are able to also access better terms in terms of credit, which also gets passed back down to the rider again. So in these economic times, it's really important to be able to balance out earnings for drivers who we desperately compete for in on our platform, but also make things accessible, because the same pressures that drivers are facing, riders are facing as well.
Sounds like a massive balancing act.
So just on the issue around access to vehicles, obviously you've mentioned Move and how they've been a key partner for you, but there's also a growing concern around syndicates that are potentially exploiting Uber drivers and almost putting them in a very difficult position as far as giving them their vehicle that they can't actually afford to be operating. We know Uber's aware of that issue, but we haven't really had many updates as far as what's been done to address this. I know that it falls outside of potentially Uber's purview, but it is something that's happening and happening locally. So do you have any update as regards that? How is Uber looking to tackle syndicates, or is it kind of doing anything in that regard?
Yeah, we've got no tolerance for any sort of fraud or abuse on the platform, and where there's cases that are reported to us, we do support law enforcement. We work very closely with public safety officials to be able to get to the bottom of that. But our focus has really been on helping fleet partners, and it's not just Move. There's literally hundreds of fleet partners. Some of them former drivers that have gone from renting a car to owning multiple cars, right? Our focus is around building that ecosystem. I think where we've gotten it right is with the fleet partners, where we're trying to improve a lot more is also working directly with OEMs as well. I think there's a lot that the vehicle sector can do. I think we are a great platform for scaling out demand. I think the data right now for vehicles does show that cars are getting too expensive to access. The government has a plan around our just energy transition, so to EVs, and EVs are fantastic from a total cost of ownership perspective, but they are terrible in terms of upfront costs. So again, if we're trying to make sure that the transition and access to these vehicles is fair and equitable, we need to come together. So, I do see a world where the OEM, the fleet partner, and ourselves can come together to create great packages and access to that. We've seen some small wins as well. I think the package launch in Cape Town, we're 100% electric right now. And that's a startup from Durban that we've, worked together to help them scale out. Drivers they're on electric bikes. They're doing battery swaps. Some really fun stories I hear. We got a request to deliver a package from Franschhoek to Cape Town, and the guy drove back to the office and said, "Hey, I need 2 batteries to make this trip." So they're really, things like range anxiety, all the things that we hear about. Again, those things are flying by the wayside the more people get actually access to these technologies. So I believe Uber is the best platform to get EV prices down and EVs accessible to a lot of people. So it really opened that.
Also
challenge.
imagine bringing them to South Africa, because that's quite an expensive process for a lot of people, is to import them. And I think a lot of people are still waiting for, obviously you get like your the i8 from BMW, the i3. There are a few hybrids around, but I think like the pure electric vehicle where you literally plug it into the wall to juice it up, I think that's still quite a way. But I suspect Uber can help in that regard by kind of showing manufacturers that, hey, there is demand for electric vehicles here.
Yeah, they are the first adopters. We announced recently in the UK our partnership with Kia, and they've been, surprised by the uptake. And I believe South African drivers are ready for this. They are looking for solutions to, one, increase their earnings by reducing the cost of operating. I was actually in Cape Town last year, February, and invited one of the drivers on the platform, a lady, and we did some driving around in electric cars. So I picked the Mini. The electric Mini, and I told her to jump in, and she was a little bit nervous about getting into electric car. She didn't understand the regenerative braking and all that. So we went up Signal Hill, and the challenge was to go down the hill and see how much power you can generate. And as she went down, she was really quiet, and I was just talking through the process with her, and we stopped at the bottom, and she realized, oh my goodness, we have more battery than when we left the top. And for her, it just changed everything. And there she was. She got so comfortable. We were zooming down Chapman's Peak, and that gave me a real strong sense of purpose and confidence. At the time, we had no sustainability strategy for South Africa. And very quickly, in a few months, we started forging ahead. And I believe that things are changing. Prices are going down. I'm really getting good signals from the vehicle market that we should be able to unlock something for drivers soon. Yeah.
I suppose electric cars also kind of electric vehicles remove one of the bigger gripes that I think a lot of local drivers have, and that's our constantly fluctuating petrol price. I know this is a gripe everywhere, but I think it's especially pertinent here in South Africa. And I know a lot of drivers complain about this, and I think it's worth asking, why doesn't Uber adapt its price according to the comings and goings of the fuel price in South Africa?
Yeah, so fuel price is one component of the total cost of operating for drivers. So we look at a myriad of different variables. So a key part of a platform is actually pricing and being able to manage pricing. I remember the early days of Uber, Surge. We brought this idea of prices that change according to demand to be able to balance out the marketplace. And Surge was a concept that riders weren't familiar with, drivers weren't familiar with. But we look back now, it was the right thing to do. That's what allowed for a better experience, and we're always focused on, one, how do we make a good experience for riders, and two, how do we make it also a very good experience for drivers by being able to sustain their earnings. So fuel prices will fluctuate up and down. There's room in pricing to be able to accommodate those things, but we look at it as a bigger, it's one factor in a number of variables. There's insurance, there's parts costs, there's interest rates. I think you're touching on the financing. What you're finding is also now drivers financing used cars for like 72 months. And when I started off in banking, and I remember when the National Credit Act came in, it was capped at 60 months. I think it's going further now. It's more than, I think, 72 now. Which is insane, because if you buy like a 4-year-old used car, that means by the time you pay it off, it's a 10-year-old vehicle. And some of the decisions that we have to balance out again is expectations from riders. Do you want to jump into a 10-year-old vehicle? So we're trying to solve problems on all sides. So it's really important that we continue to get drivers into more and more fuel efficient cars. I think we've seen the surge of lower engine capacity vehicles. So you're finding sedans that are like 1 liter, 1.2 liters. Before, drivers were sitting with cars that are 1.8 liter vehicles. And that's part of some of the structural changes that we can help get across to be able to help drivers with earnings. But in terms of pricing for us, it's dynamic. It does respond to conditions. It responds to travel time. During the peak of the load shedding, we had lots of traffic lights off, etc. And the future, moving forward, it's still going to be dynamic. It may become more personalized. So maybe when you're in Soweto, prices will be different to when you're in Sandton. But it also depends on the time of day, etc., what type of individual you are. So our technology and what we're looking to build is always trying to help maximize earnings while still making it flexible. Earnings is not just about the fare that you get on a trip. It's about, are you getting consistent business? Drivers want to get out there, get back home. They don't want to be sitting on the streets waiting for hours on end. So again, going back to that balance, that is part of what we do. And that's why, Uber, a lot of people think of it as just an app, but there's a reason we have, tens of thousands of employees. It's very operationally intensive as well.
So I wanted to perhaps just shift the focus back to your drivers. There's been a lot of discourse around their classification. Uber's made its stance really well known. But in regions like the UK and in New York City, for example, regulators there have really pushed to ensure that the drivers have a lot of benefits that a normal employee would. Again, Uber's made its stance known, but South Africa, as we know, is a very different market to the rest of the world. Are there any discussions around that classification or ways that drivers can receive more benefits that a normal employee might receive?
Yep. So in South Africa, the laws are quite clear. There's different ways to deal with employees and with independent contractors. In South Africa, drivers are independent contractors. A lot of markets embrace the same, the same structure. It's really important as well that the flexibility is actually, again, something that is really important for drivers. They like to determine their own fate. Some drivers, you can take 2 Uber trips and talk to a driver. One will tell you, I do not want to take long trips. Another driver will tell you that, I don't like short trips, and that flexibility and being able to set up your business on the platform as you see fit is quite important. And, we're always operating within the bounds of the laws of what we can do, but we're always looking to see, how we can improve the driver situation. So I think that's something that is consistently evolving, I think, around the world. I think in South Africa as well, the outlook on gig work and platform work, that extends to other platforms like Airbnbs, etc. There's a lot of thinking that needs to be still done in that space. I think the voice of drivers and I think the voice of the platforms needs to also be put in as that regulation and that thinking is formed. going forward. Yeah.
How often are you guys having, interactions or forums with drivers?
Yeah, so we have roundtables every single month on different topics. Yeah, so typically, just to give you a flavor of what a roundtable is like, there's typically announcements. There's sometimes products that we haven't announced to the public, where we're trying to sometimes covertly try to get feedback. Sometimes it's very direct. You say, hey, we're going to launch this. What do you think about it? One of the interesting ones is it's on safety. We actually last week rolled out a rider verification to the whole of South Africa. I think the last time we spoke to the media was we were talking about how we're piloting and expanding it. That was a long journey, because there were drivers that also understood that, hey, are you going to put friction on riders to have to go and put in some sort of ID or sorts that could affect the demand for trips. So whatever you do, please don't mess around with demand of the platform. Though some drivers, rightfully so, we've seen incidences in certain areas in South Africa where they've become hotspots, and they're saying, hey, we don't want to go there. And, you have to think about new drivers as well that don't know that some of these areas are hotspots. How are we going to deal with that? So in those roundtables, we solicit feedback. We have debates, we have discussions, and it's really about ensuring that we hear the voice of the driver, and that stems back into our discussions. And one of my favorite ones have been actually with police. So it's actually 3-way roundtable. So the police, community policing forums as well, drivers and ourselves sitting together to deal with the situations that are outside the platform, because it doesn't matter how safe Uber is.
Yeah.
If we're going into unsafe situations, that puts the rider and the driver at risk. So it's really important that we, come together and try to figure out solutions. There's been ideas that have been thrown around, by different, law enforcement officers, etc. For certain regions. Do we need to have pick up and drop offs? Do drivers need to get an escort to be able to drop someone off in some of these communities? And these are the kind of conversations you can only have on a small group one-on-one basis. So we consistently do that. We also have driver surveys. So this is more broad-based. They give us feedback on a monthly basis on different aspects of the business as well. So we do ensure that we're always in conversation.
Are there any conversations with taxi associations or kind of mass transit associations on that regard? Because it seems there's a lot of friction specifically around traditional taxis and Uber drivers.
Well, I think the taxi industry has been very progressive, I think, in general. They also understand, how complementary our services are. The reality is that, taking Uber very long distances, we can never compete in the pricing with minibus taxis. So people use multi-modes to get to their destination. So how do I go from my house to the taxi rank, from the taxi rank to my end destination? So we've seen that the platforms are complementary, and I think, again, looking into the future, I wouldn't be surprised that we see a lot more partnering and partnerships. We've seen in the New York yellow taxis, yellow cabs on the platform. We announced black cabs in London. Many countries we've got incumbents operating on the platform, because I think we can deliver value, and hopefully in South Africa this is something that we can get done as well. Because I think the end experience for users will be absolutely fantastic. Imagine being able to just put in your start and end destination, and being able to use multi-modes digitally to get to where you need to go, which would be incredible.
So you don't ever see like IACs or whatever featuring on the Uber app?
That would be fantastic. I think, I can imagine a world where, you jump into a minibus taxi and maybe it's a little bit more flexible in terms of the route. Sometimes I think commuters struggle during off-peak times because they don't know who's waiting, where is the demand, where's the demand, and maybe being able to book your seat as well. Yeah. I remember going to varsity and taking the buses. Man, it was a bit of a roll of the dice. You're standing at the bus stop and you don't know if this bus is full or not. Because if it's full, it's gonna shoot past you, and you gotta wait for the next one. Yeah, so our platform, and I do encourage people want to read a little bit more about how we're thinking. There's a white paper that we have called Uber Transit Horizons, and you'll be able to see just the flavor of what we're doing currently and where transit is going. And I'd love that for South Africa. I mean, to be incredible. So if you think about public transport switches off at night, you have to go and arrange private shuttles for your employees at night. There's a lot of taxis operating right now, and I think our platform will be uniquely suited. You tie in Uber for Business, you tie in taxis, etc. I think there's definitely something there, and it's something we'll be open to discuss as well.
Yeah, it kind of like harkens back to the essence of ride sharing, right? So it'll be interesting to see if that ever happens.
We're agnostic to the mode, as long as it's got wheels and can take people and things from A to B. It's got a place on the platform, and it'd be great to see that future for South Africa.
Imagine booking your truck delivery, get your whole house moved through Uber. That'd be fun. So I think to wrap up, then let's take a look forward to the rest of the year. What are you guys looking at doing throughout the rest of the year? I know you just mentioned that you're rolling out rider verification to more riders in South Africa. So what else do you guys have on the cards that you could share with us that's not the keys to the kingdom?
Yeah, so I mean, the first and foremost, safety is what we stand for. Always endeavor to be the safest platform, and that's why users choose us. They want to ride with that, certainty that they'll be able to navigate safely from A to B. So what you can expect is a lot more announcements within the safety space. We're really pushing the bar. It's also, again, we're treading on that space is too much. But I don't think when it comes to safety, it's ever enough. It's one of those ideals. We want to get to zero, but you never quite get there, right? And it's more the pursuit that's important. So I'm really excited about rider verifications. I think, the adoption and, seeing the data of people putting in IDs, passports, and it actually gets verified. It's gonna be phenomenal for drivers, because now, if I'm in a slightly dodgy area, but that I'm verified and I am who I am, a driver is more likely to actually come through and pick you up. So I'm really encouraging people to do their verification if it pops up on the app. But within the safety space, there's a few things that we're busy cooking up right now, which again I think are going to be game changers. It's going to change the industry. From a product perspective, always more modes. Really, I think sustainability is really big. We announced our plans, to continue scaling package across the country, electric. So we're hoping to see a lot more faster expansion. I think the charging infrastructure, we've learned so much about that. We've learned about driver behavior, and also we've learned about the benefits. We've actually proven out the business case. So I'm really confident about our expansion across more cities in that front. I think from a Uber Eats perspective, the grocery space is going to be fantastic. Uber Eats is the only app you'll need. I don't know about you, but I always get excited on Tuesdays. Fresh Tuesdays, 50% off. That's always a fun promotion to see. So that space is really exciting. So from a platform tech perspective, I'm really excited to see how Uber One adoption continues to increase. So Uber One is our loyalty program. It's 50 rands per month or 500 for the year, but the discounts are insane. I had a look on my app as well on how much I've saved so far this year. It's in the thousands, so it's already, the return on the investment is phenomenal, and I think that's a product that's going to continue to evolve, continue to look at the benefits and seeing how we can get a lot more people in that space. So I think continue to expect leadership in safety, leadership in new products, and more products to more people. I think that's the key trend heading out into the end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, last time we spoke was at the Uber for Teens event.
Yes.
What has the uptake of that been like? I know it's only been a few months, but what's that been like?
Yeah, it's actually been interesting. What we've also seen, which we didn't expect, was more creation of family accounts as teens come up. So now people have actually realized that, hey, I can actually include, whether it's staff that work at my house, I can include grandparents onto that account. And it actually starts with the teen. So you actually see the teen actually asking to get set up. You can see the first setup as the teen. And then they realize, we can actually consolidate all our expenditure onto one card. So it's been phenomenal. I think we've seen group rides, so people splitting rides between each other. That has been a feature that's also been utilized quite a lot. So the sharing economy is picking up within the platform, which has been really key. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of interesting verticals you were mentioning. Not just the groceries, but delivering all kinds of kind of products. And I think we were having a discussion around the grocery apps in South Africa, and kind of you mentioned Uber Eats as a potential kind of game-changing platform as far as that concerned. And also think about e-commerce as well. What role Uber Eats can play there? Yeah,
and we launched also store pickups. I think you had the announcement. It was a feature that it was one of those things we just wanted to put in the hands of the consumers and see how they utilize it. I mean, it's been fantastic. Whether it's if you prepaid for something and you just need someone to go collect it, it's come out clutch for me. Sometimes you're stuck in a meeting, shop's going to close at 5, I'm not going to make it in time. Store pickups have been excellent. I'm really excited to see how that progresses. It's also been great because it's a higher earning service that couriers can provide. So whether it's picking up dry cleaning, etc., I think it's going to be interesting going forward to see how much more other services we can bake on top of that technology as well. So, and everything we've spoken about, I mean, it's all on one platform. So your Uber account gets you access to fast food, restaurants, groceries. Hopefully we're getting more different retail products soon. Gets you access to on-demand delivery. You don't have to wait to send anything now, right? It's a few minutes and you'll be sorted out. And from a mobility perspective, I think we just need to continue to push the envelope in terms of what other modes and ways of riding can be brought in. So yeah, really excited for the rest of the year. It's been a good run up, and really excited for earnest to get into the peak season. Right now it's winter, so everyone is trying to stay at home and keep warm. But I think as soon as we get out of this cold period, it's going to be again very exciting for drivers.
Well, I mean, it speaks more to your point, right? So if there aren't more rides, a earner can start shifting their focus more to Uber Eats stuff, because I'm sure people don't want to go out to eat, they want food to come to them.
Correct. And imagine now, I think if we get more economical vehicles as well, you could see drivers being able to do everything. Uber package for cars with cars is also very popular right now. So that's why we can't lose our focus on continuing to innovate.
Cool. I think last question just from my side was just around localization. Often when a massive kind of big tech company has presence in South Africa, we often think that it gets forgotten about. But localization, is that something that you guys are pushing as far as kind of getting products that are tailored to South Africa are concerned?
Always. We have a strategy that is, we call it global first, but in its essence, it's really around how do we get best in class into a market as quickly as possible in a manner that is, catered to the local market. So whether it's new platform technologies, we don't want that experience for you in London, in Rio, to be vastly different from the experience that you're getting in Soweto. All right. So because of that, and because of the amazing team that I have in market, we're able to again surface rider, take data from rider support, take data from the metrics that we see on the platform, take driver feedback, and be able to quickly pivot those into actual product changes. A lot of technology that we take for granted was actually stems from feedback that we've gotten from drivers. They're some of our best idea generation, platforms. So we will continue to make sure that the platform is suited for South Africa. And again, the more you travel, you'll see that the types of vehicles varies across city by city. And we'll continue to do that. We are very much South African as much as we are a global company as well.
Great stuff, yeah. So again, once again, I really appreciate taking the time to chat to us. We're interested to see what happens in the next 12 or so months. Maybe something that was spoken about here, we'll say, hear about that.
You'll connect the dots afterwards. Yeah. All right. No, thanks so much.
Thank you.